Welcome back. We're on Chapter 5. We're going to go through some of the examples, 5.3, computing the probability. So remember, probability, classical number of successes divided by possible outcomes. So if we take, for example, now sum of rolling two dice. So we're going to roll two dice and we're going to add up the total. So rule number one is the probability of any event is the sum of the probabilities of any of the outcomes that comprise the event. So this sounds complicated, but it's relatively straightforward. So let's put down here the probability of us getting a sum of 6. Well, you can notice here there's 5 ways I can get a 6. You can see 5, 1, 4, 2, etc., right? So it's 5 out of the total number of possible ways, 36. Probability of getting a 7 is a little different because there's 6 successful ways I can get a 7. So it's 636. Now, applying this rule number 1, if I said, what's the probability of us rolling a 7 or 11? Would be the probability of us rolling a 7, which is 636, plus the probability of us rolling an 11, which is 236, which sums up to 836. And if I've done my math right, simplifies to 2/9. So that's rule number 1, and it makes to me fairly good sense. If the probability of rolling a 7 or an 11 is the probability of rolling a 7 plus the probability of rolling an 11. Now let's talk about the complement of an event. That's rule number 2. So the probability of a complement. So a complement is it not happening. So what's the probability that I don't roll a 7 or 11? Well, it's simply 1 minus the probability that I will. Let me just, that should have been a caret. Oftentimes you'll see in the book it's the probability of A complement is 1 minus the probability of A. So, not like we said, the probability of 7 or 11 is 836. So the probability that I don't roll a 7 or 11 is 1 minus 836 or 2836. So common sense says, I'm either going to roll a 7 or 11 or I'm not going to roll a 7 or 11. So they got to add up to 1. So the probability of the complement is 1 minus the probability of the event. Let's talk about now mutually exclusive events. So mutually exclusive events, the formal definition is 2 events are mutually exclusive if they have no common outcomes. Okay? So you think about it, I can't roll, if I roll 2 dice, I can't get a 7 and an 11 at the same time. I either roll a 7 or an 11. And mutually exclusive means if I roll a 7, then I can exclude 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? Because I can't roll both of them at the same time. So rule number 3 says if events A and B are mutually exclusive, then the probability of A or B equals the probability of A plus the probability of B, which again, to our example of 711 is 836. And then if we say probability of rolling a 2, 3, or 4, 2, 3, 12 is event B, that would be 436. Now notice, the probability of A or B, I can't roll, they're mutually exclusive. I can't roll both of these. I either do or I don't, so I can add them up and get 1236. Now, I could have non-mutually exclusive events. So what about if my event A is the probability of rolling a 2, 3, or 12, and event B is the probability of rolling an even? Well, they're not mutually exclusive anymore because if I roll a 2, I've accomplished both. So somehow I've got to take out those where my results meet both event A and event B's restrictions. So probability of a 2, 3, and 12, 2, 3, 12 is 436. Probability of an even number is 1/2, 1836. So the probability of A or B is the probability of A plus the probability of B minus where I have overlap. So I got to take out this 2 because that's both a 2 and an even, and I got to take out this 12. Now, if you think about it, if I didn't take these out, then I could, let's say the probability of event A was 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and the probability of event B was even. Well, I would add 1836 plus 1836 and get 3636, and I would say I'm guaranteed of getting a 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, or even on every roll. And we know that can't be true because I could roll an odd number. So I hope that helps. Any questions? We talked about mutually exclusive events and non-mutually exclusive events, how to calculate them.